Everybody, and it's time to turn our attentions to Derby County's next game as they are at home to Bristol City this Saturday. Joining me today to talk all things Bristol City and to talk about the match and maybe some former Rams that we may both know is Ben from Robins on Tour. Ben, how the heck are you?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on, Corey. Looking forward to the game. Also recording this at the start of the week before your Carabao Cup game, and so we've got a whole week rest, which I'm looking forward to. But yeah, no, looking forward to our chat and the game on Saturday.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Ben. I'm looking forward to it too, and that's a good disclaimer. We are recording this on Monday afternoon, so ahead of Derby's game against Barrow in the Carabao Cup midweek. But schedules and conflicts, we need to get the content. So Ben was gracious enough with this time. Thanks for joining me, Ben. Ben, talk to me a little bit about Bristol City. Seventh in the table currently, and I've always said this, I don't look too much into the table until 10, 12, 15 games down the line because a lot can change. 3 games in, unbeaten, but not undefeated. Talk to me about Bristol City's start to the season so far in the league, at least, and then fill me in a little bit with the cup if you want. 1 win, 2 draws, 6 goals for, 5 against. Talk about Bristol City's start to the season.
My granddad always also says that as well, not to actually look at the table until about 10 games in. So I'm doing the exact same as you. And I mean, we're just hovering outside the playoffs at the minute. As you said, unbeaten, 2 draws and a win in the league. And we're playing good football. Obviously the first game was Hull away. I was in Turkey for that, so I had to watch it on the phone. But from what I saw, we played well. And Joe Williams in the last minute for no reason whatsoever, just giving away a penalty. So arguably probably should have come away with that for 3 points. So it's been a good start to the season, and we've got a favourable run of games now until sort of late October where we play Leeds. So we got obviously you guys, Blackburn, Oxford, the Welsh clubs, Sheffield Wednesday all coming up over the next few weeks. So 5 points out of Hull, Millwall, and Coventry. You take that any day of the week, and it's playing better football, playing more attractive football, and staying in games. Some of the performances we've seen at early parts of this season are so much better than we've seen over the last few years. So no, it's really positive at City at the moment. And although we're out of the cup, that could be a sort of good thing in the long run for us. Obviously, like I said earlier, even just today, we've got a whole week to prepare. You all have 3 days. And I think, if you guys have to play 90 minutes at Barrow and then penalties and all that stuff, it could come in our favour. So, obviously disappointing to be out of the cup, disappointing not to, have the chance to get a nice away day. But, in the long run, it could be beneficial for us this season.
Yeah, Ben, I agree. I'm always a big fan of, let's be honest, Derby County and Bristol City are probably never going to win the Carabao Cup. We're also the odds of us winning the FA Cup are also very slim to none. And I'm very much an FA Cup enthusiast. I love the cup. I love the magic of the cup. I love what it stands for. I'm not one of these abolish the cup kind of gurus, that you get. But we're both probably not going to win the cup. So for me, I'm also, the quicker you can kind of get out of it, it helps you later on for the championship, for the league season, because, from a Derby perspective, we have to stay in the championship. We can't afford to get relegated, which is weird to say from Derby being in the championship from years ago. But there's a lot more to play for than just these cup competitions. So the less games, small squad at Derby, that kind of thing. So fingers crossed, no injuries at Barrow, and we can crack on. We can crack on with Bristol City. Ben, talk to me a little bit, because a couple of years ago when I was talking to some Bristol City fans, it was kind of like Bristol City were kind of in a little bit of purgatory, really. They were kind of not really a playoff contender, not really a team they were kind of like a lower mid-table team. And they've kind of stagnated there. They had Nigel Pearson for a long time. And I remember one Bristol City fan saying to me, his kid, had no favorite players because there was nobody. The kid was a passionate Bristol City fan, and they just didn't have any favorite players because that's kind of where Bristol City was. And I kind of have not kept an eye, but kind of looked at it and whatever. Is it the same for Bristol City now? Your expectations this season? I know you're under new management, which we're going to talk to shortly, but Have you kind of come out of that little purgatory thing a little bit? Is there a little bit more excitement about Bristol City these days?
I mean, you're completely right, to be honest. The last sort of decade we've been in the championship, and I think, we've never been higher than eighth and never been lower than sort of 18th finish wise over the last 10 years. So we've definitely been a mid table club that has never really had any sort of promotion push or ever really been in a proper relegation battle. But this season, we're sort of hoping to keep pushing on now under Liam Manning. Like you said, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about him in a minute, but he's definitely brought something new that we haven't really seen. We've had a very good transfer window. Again, I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about that in a minute as well. But it's definitely looking up this year. And last year, I think we finished 11th. So I said at the start of the season, as long as we improve on that, that'll be a good season. So a top 10 finish would be ideal for us this season. And then, we just keep on pushing. But the start of the season we've had, I mean, on Saturday we were the early kickoff. So for about 20 minutes or so, we were top of the league. So obviously, we had a few of them chants around Ashton Gate on Saturday, which was probably the first time I've heard that in about 10 years. So there's definitely a new sense of optimism, I guess, around this season. I think it is, we've started well compared to past seasons, and people are definitely looking at the run we've got coming up now, where we could be 10 games in and still be unbeaten. Obviously, touch wood. But yeah, there's definitely a new sense of hope, I guess, for this season. If I'm being honest, if I'm being realistic, I don't think we're going to be up there this year. We might flirt with the playoffs a little bit, but I think if we can just push on top 10, in the final 5 games, sort of be a few points off it, then who knows? Next season could finally be the year. But yeah, you're right. We're getting there. We're getting there.
Ben, next season is always the year for every team.
We've been saying
Famous,
that for the last 10 years.
famous last words. Talk to me a little bit about Liam Manning then, because you had the last time we were in the championship, you had Nigel Pearson, and then I kind of lost touch with the championship because we were in League One. Nigel Pearson, and then obviously Liam Manning was at Oxford. I think he'd done quite well at Oxford. He'd had a decent style. They played decent football. Oxford 10-2. He came into Bristol City. What's he changed, and what does he how does he like to set his Bristol City team up?
Yeah. I mean, he came in sort of middle of last season. I think it was November time after we lost at Cardiff away, which obviously our rivals. We lost 2-0 there. And everyone was sort of, you knew it was the end for Pearson, but we thought he'd still have a week or two. But then the day after, he left or was sacked. Or I think he left. I think he left. Um, but and then we obviously brought in Liam Manning, who left Oxford to come to us. Um, we didn't really know what to think about it because obviously, like I said, we've been in the Championship for so long, we've sort of stopped looking at League One, so we didn't really know much about him. But he came in, and we instantly were playing a lot more attacking, attractive football. But also we were really solid at the back, which, to be fair, we were under Nigel Pearson as well. But we've been playing more attacking football, but being able to keep being solid at the back, which is obviously the thing you need in the Championship. And then this season, really, we're getting into the right places. It's just I like to say we're always just one pass off, and we've had that quite a bit. We ended last season well, but it's sort of the same sort of thing. We'll get around the box and then we just sort of freeze. We don't really know what to do, but we're getting better and better than that every game. So we're improving, and like I said, if we can finish better than finish in the top 10, then you never know. But yeah, to answer your question, it's definitely more positive. There's definitely a layer of positivity around Ashton Gate and that we haven't really seen. And like I said, optimism, I guess, is the word, because everyone sort of knew we're just going to be that mid-table side, and there were videos on YouTube and social media last year that we're the most boring side in England. So it's nice to see us, not be that for a little bit. And yeah, no, he's doing well. We just need to not mess it up, basically.
Find that little extra 5 or 10% in the final third, and things will start to click.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
Ben, I've been looking at the team for Bristol City. Max O'Leary in goal, very good young goalkeeper. You got Rob Dickey in there. You've got Scott Twine, who I don't know if you signed him permanently or on loan from Burnley, but he had a spell, very, very good spell at MK Dons. He went to Burnley and did well. And then you've got two former Derby players in the engine room with Max Bird and Jason Knight, who we're going to talk to in a little bit more detail. But you do have some quality players. Talk to me about, so when Derby fans roll to Pride Park to watch Bristol City, who are the star men, vice the two players that we're going to talk about momentarily? Who are the stars of this team who really make it click?
Oh, yeah, we're definitely going to have to talk about Max Bird and Jason Knight, to be fair, in that category. But you touched on the transfer window a bit, and that's again something that we haven't really seen. We've had a very good transfer window this year. We over the last couple of years, we've been a team that's always sold our best players for a good amount to the Premier League, and then we've only really bought in players that are good, but are maybe a year or two past it, if that makes sense. And this year we've sort of completely flipped on its head, and we're now signing players that are in the right team, sort of prime for the championship at this point. So we bought in, obviously, we sold Tommy Conway to Middlesbrough, and we bought in Sinclair Armstrong from QPR and Fally Mayulu from Rapid Vienna, I think it was. And they've hit the ground running. They've been fantastic. I really like the look of both of them. I think it's like you said, as soon as we get that final little 5% in the final third, they're going to be a real problem for championship defenders. Also, if we bought in, we have, like you said, Max Bird is coming as well. Scott Twine, who came on loan to us second half of last season, was unreal, and we finally got him. I think it is a permanent deal now, so he's hit the ground running as well. Scored on his debut, well, second debut against Millwall when he came on and that last minute winner. But yeah, no, Derby fans can expect, like I said, attacking football, but also a solid backline. I think we won't concede many this year, but then I don't think we'll score a ton as well until, like you said, we hit the ground running. So players to look out for, probably the two strikers, whoever is. So far, it's been sort of one plays the first 60 minutes, and then the other will come on in the last half an hour or so and try and keep the lead or get a goal. And then Scott Twine will cause you some problems as well. And then whoever's on the other side, it'll be Mark Sykes or Anis Mehmeti. And then we'll talk about Max Bird in a minute. But yeah, it'll be our midfield going to attack that if they click, they'll cause you a few problems.
And then I was remiss because there was actually one other former Derby County player in the Bristol City team, and that's Hayden Roberts. But he was on the bench for the last game against Coventry. Completely forgot about that guy. Played for us last year, or no, 2 years ago. He was pretty good. And then he went on to you guys. Okay, Max Bird, Jason Knight. I looked at the Bristol City team sheet a couple weeks ago, and Jason Knight was captain. Is he the captain of Bristol City now? And how's Knighty doing from his move from Derby to Bristol City?
Yeah, no, he's our captain this year, and I think a few people were a bit surprised when we brought in all these players, as well as George Murphy, I forgot, from West Ham on loan. But Jason Knight's been one of those players that's consistently solid every game, even when the whole team's sort of having a bad game, he's sort of still the one that is still solid. And this season, he's sort of playing more central midfield rather than the attacking he played last year. So, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about lineup or whatever, but he's sort of been playing as the CDM centre mid alongside Joe Williams, or he has been the last two games since we bought Max Bird, and he's been playing a bit further forward. And yeah, our midfield's been a lot more solid than it has been over the last few years. Like I said, we've had a few of older players who have sort of come here after their prime, sort of for a year or two. So obviously, Matty James was solid for us, but he's left now, and we had Andy King, like you said, off air as well. So now we've got sort of the solid midfield that will be able to play week in, week out. But yeah, Jason Knight's our captain, and he's been solid. And yeah, I'm sure we'll talk about Max Bird in a minute. But
yeah, Knighty was always very solid. Knighty was always very solid for us, and his work rate's tremendous, complete box to box player. And like you say, you
Yeah,
can put him in a team and he's a 6.5, 7 and 6.5, 7 every week, which, it's not,
definitely.
I'm not saying he's Lionel Messi, but you need those players in a team that you can stick out there and like, that you're consistently going to get consistent performances, workmanlike performances. He works his socks off. Um, we stuck him at fullback for a period of time because we needed a thing at a fullback and he was like a Swiss Army knife. So it's pleased to see that he's found a home, and I hope he gets a good reception at Pride Park because he was a very good, very solid player for us. And it was kind of inevitable that he would leave, but also sad at the same
Yeah,
time because he'd come to the academy, he'd played so many games as well at such a young age. And yeah, wish Jason Knight all the best after Saturday. Another player that kind of will be weird. It's weird because I saw a picture of him, and it's weird when they're wearing another. It's weird when they're in the Bristol Shades. It's just weird. Max Bird, Derby lad, came from the youth academy again. Had an extra year in the first team, a couple years extra in the first team than Jason Knight did. And it was also always a kind of a criticism of Jason, or not Jason Knight, but Max Bird, that especially for me, it oftentimes looked like he was kind of playing crab football where he'd pass it from side to side. And maybe that was a symptom of tactics the Derby were playing at the time or trying to break down the opposition. And then there was a period of time last year where he got injured. And then all of a sudden you're like, man, there's a Max Bird sized hole in this midfield, but you couldn't define, you know what I mean? Like he was there, he
yeah,
ticked over, he did some of the dirty work and some of the unsung stuff. And we always knew there was more to his game. What are your early indications of Max Bird coming to Bristol City? Because that deal was done actually last January and he came back on
yeah.
loan for us. So he's been a Bristol City player technically for a while, but you guys didn't get to meet him until the summer. What are your insights into Max Bird? How have you found him so far?
I think you're completely right. From what we've seen so far, he seems to be the sort of player that he does everything right, but he's not. He does it sort of on the low. Like he's not going to be the player that everyone's going to see every game and he's going to be like, "Wow, that was incredible." But he's like a bit like Jason Knight. He does everything right. Um, and like you said, he's the sort of player that if you take out, you'll see how much you miss him when he is actually playing. So from what we've seen so far, Bristol City fans really do like him. I've seen a lot on Twitter and social media sort of bigging him up from the last performances. And I hope he does get a good reception at Pride Park. So like you said, we obviously bought him last January, sent him back on loan to you guys, and I'm pretty sure he scored the goal that actually sent you up in the end on the last day. So I'm hoping he gets a good reception. But yeah, like you said, he looks very good. We really like the look of him, and he's been playing in that sort of attacking midfielder role a bit ahead of the other two midfielders. So he he has been playing it side to side a bit, but as like I said earlier, I think as soon as we click going forward, I think we're going to be, you know, a proper problem for Championship defenders, or at least I hope we are. But yeah, he seems to be the player that, yeah, just a very good player that does everything right, but doesn't really sort of stand out as the sort of star man. But when you watch him week in, week out, you can see how good he actually is. And I'm hoping he keeps it up.
Yeah, he is a very, very solid player, and he comes with some championship experience as well, which him and Jason Knight also had that championship experience, which helps quite a bit deal. And the irony is not lost that Bird is now playing for the Robins. So side note there to make you chuckle from time to time. Ben, 4-2-4-2-3-1 looks like the favorite formation the last couple of weeks for
Yeah.
Bristol City. Um, where are the strengths in this Bristol City side? Where do Derby have to watch out where Bristol City can really hurt them?
Well, the I'm not going to talk about the defense too much because I think that's sort of a position where we've I don't want to say mastered, but we've finally got a solid back line now. So I won't talk a little bit much about that, but Dickey came off injured on Saturday, and then when I think it was Naismith came on, and you could definitely see that the sort of backline that we've had the last few weeks has sort of been interrupted, and a big part was taken out. So I'm sort of hoping he's not injured for too long. I'm obviously, like we said, it's Monday, so we still got a good few days until the game. So I'm not so sure on his injury status at the moment. But if he's out, that'll be a problem miss, and I think that'll be somewhere where you guys could capitalize on. If that backline is sort of missing Rob Dickey, but as in in terms of going forward in an attacking sense, it's definitely going to be if we're able to feed the strikers. I think as as soon as we can master getting Armstrong and Mayulu the ball in positions they can score goals, like I said, will be a force to be reckoned with, and that's just going to come from that sort of midfield, like you said, to 4-3-2, 4-2-3-1. Sorry, so the two are obviously Williams and Jason Knight. They're sort of like you said, the powerhouses, and then it's the three in front that if they click, they'll cause teams a hell of a lot of problems, and that's probably going to be Scott Twine, Max Bird, and Sykes or Earthy or possibly Mehmeti, but Twine and Bird, if they can feed the striker and if the striker can get into those positions, then yeah, that's where we'll cause Derby problems on Saturday.
Where are the weaknesses been in this Derby team? You alluded to one there, potentially in defense with the injury to Rob Dickey. Where are the Derby's scored quite a fair few goals this season already on set pieces. Where are the weaknesses in this Bristol City team that obviously Paul Warren's going to watch this and make notes? Where can he target Bristol City to get some easy joy?
Well, I mean, we're touch wood, we're quite good with set pieces in both attacking and defensive situations. Like I said, our backline's solid at the moment. Um, so it's a tough one. It will definitely be if Rob Dickey's injured. That'll be where I'll be a little bit worried. Obviously, Cal Naismith coming back from an injury was out quite a bit last season. We didn't see much of him. Rob Atkinson's playing for the under-21s today, so maybe he might be rushed back if needed. But if Dickey is out, I wouldn't be worried as such, but I'd be a little bit nervous. Just because we've had that sort of settled back line for such a long time now, that to see that sort of shaken up will be a bit of a worry. But then again, Naismith came on for the first time in a while to play 20 minutes and he didn't do too bad. So with a week of training, getting into the back line, we might be all right. But I'd be worried if Dickey's out for a while. So yeah, if Dickey is out injured, then that'll probably be where you can attack us. But again, like I said, we've been solid. So it's just if we turn up, basically. Because we've seen a lot over the last few years that we can just not turn up and, teams will cause us problems very quickly if we don't turn up. Actually, that's a good point. Just as I was speaking, the start of the second half is where you'll hit us if you do need to cause us problems. We're good at the start of the first half. We're good at the end of the second half. It's that sort of first 15, 20 minutes of the second half where we sort of don't wake up. And we saw that in the Mill game, went into halftime 2-0 up. Everyone's saying at halftime, let's get another goal and then we could just cruise. And then come the 60th minute or something, we were 3-2 down. So yeah, I've said I've spoke a lot there, probably quite a bit of waffle, but yeah, it will be the main points. If Dickey's out, that'll be problematic, and if we don't start the second half fast, then you could cause us some problems then as well.
Seems been a little bit like a little bit of a mentality issue amongst the squads that hopefully gets sorted out after Saturday, because we need that for Saturday. We need all the help we can get. Ben, a couple minutes left. I'm going to push you for a score prediction. How do you think this game is going to go? How are you, from a Bristol City perspective, viewing this game? Is it like, oh, we got to go to Derby, or like licking your chops, like, hey, we're going to Derby? How are you guys shaping up? What's the vibe coming into this game, and how do you think this game is going to go?
I'd be disappointed if I came away from Pride Park on Saturday without 3 points, if I'm honest. From the way you guys have started the season, obviously I saw you obviously beat Middlesbrough at home, which was a fantastic result. But after hearing a few bits from both sets of fans, it was sort of seemed it was, I don't want to say lucky because nothing's really too lucky in football, but it's sort of Middlesbrough probably should have won that. So deep down, if I'm being completely honest, which I don't like to be with Bristol City because I know it could come to bite me in the backside any minute. I'd be disappointed if we didn't come away with 3 points, and I'd be extremely disappointed if we didn't come away with a point. Um, like I said earlier on, we've got a favourable run of games now. We need to just hit some form and start getting some wins under our belt. And I'm hoping we can start that at Derby on Saturday. So prediction wise, obviously, like I said, it's still a while to go. A lot could happen between now and Saturday, but I'll go for a 3-1 win. I'll go for a 3-1 win. I like to see us. It'd be nice to just see a comfortable win. I don't think it will be that because I think Derby will be well up for it. But yeah, I'd like to see us pick up all 3 points. And I would be a bit disappointed if we didn't come away with anything on Saturday.
3-1. That's confidence for you. Ben, thank you so much for taking the time out and chatting to us. I know obviously again it's very early in the week, but thank you for making the time. Looking forward to the game. Yeah, I think you'll see a different type of derby than what you've seen in the last time we were kind of in the championship where we were fighting at the top end. It's going to be a different kind of team, different kind of tactics. So it'll be interesting. And Bristol City is one of those teams that, like you said, they're not necessarily always at the sharp end of the table, but they are a consistently, mid-table outfit. And those are the types of teams that are tough to play against because they've had a lot of time to build. And Derby definitely need to get some more points on the board because we just need to get points on the board as quick as possible. But Ben from Robins on Tour, Ben, thanks so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it, mate, and all the best after Saturday.
Thank you very much for having me. And yes, same to you guys. All the best for the season apart from when we play you home and away.